Alrighty. So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is, I'll name this segment later, GTG Spits That Grease, so on and so forth. And you guys all know how this all works out. If the title hasn't given me away yet, I gotta tell you, man, I just thought, maybe we could go ahead and, since these are all topic videos, basically, I thought I would pose the question. Why does Darksydephil hate gaming? Now, most of you are like, oh, come on, man. I can give you a laundry list golden of why he hates that shit. Well, really? Really? No, I really want you guys to think about this. I really want you to take it all in, right? Because there are a bunch of different avenues that you could approach for why he hates gaming. The thing is that's ironic about it is it fits into DSP's narrative about why he dislikes his parents, why he dislikes Panda. He may even hate her. Why he may dislike Kat. He may hate her too. Why he's pissed off at John and Howard. Why is he pissed off at YouTube? Why is he pissed off at Twitch? Why is someone who has been perpetually taken care of damn near his entire life by all of these different entities, personalities, personas, and so on and so forth? Why does he hate all of them so much? And I think let's go ahead and put gaming into the middle of this collage, if you will, of hand holding or hoof holding, as I like to call it. And let's break it down. As it pertains to why DSP hates gaming, gaming currently represents all of the reasons why Darksydephil, DSP, Phil Burnell, Dark Geppetto is a failure. It exposes all of it. DSP tells you constantly he was passionate about gaming and that's why he made it his hobby. He's a lifelong gamer and yada, 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 yada. The reality is that he's not a lifelong gamer. The reality is he's not a gamer at all. He's someone who plays games as a means to an end. If he can make a profit off of it and get some clout, notoriety, if you will, influence if he can, then so be it. But the reality is he's not truly devoted to this shit. He doesn't believe in it, nor does he care about it. That's why he criticizes it so hard. And he's not objective about his criticism. He makes you believe, or he at least attempts to, try to make you believe that he's unbiased, that he's neutral, that he comes at everything from a rational and intelligent point of view. That's an absolute lie. He's biased about everything. He's biased about game companies that may or may not have slanted him or cheated him or even, what's the other word? What's the other term I should say? Slighted him in some type of way, shape, or form, whether from somebody online claiming something as it pertains to music that they composed for a particular game, a game writer who's linked to that company or to that studio that goes ahead and maybe had some critiques or criticisms about a particular game, but DSP was about to do a playthrough of it and he felt that that report or that article was going to fuck with his playthrough, and though in turn it was going to make him less money. If you guys know your lore, you know what I'm talking about. Even fanboys or quote unquote the chosen few that these companies and studios harbor or who have helped push along their careers, and DSP didn't get that opportunity. DSP has a multitude of reasons to hate gaming. Let's go ahead and break it down even easier. I should pull out the whiteboard for this, but we'll save it. Let's break it down from the professional standpoint of it and then the gaming standpoint of it. Professionally, he is not wanted, not needed, and unless he's used to dumb down gaming, like at GDC, when what was that? God of War. When they use DSP as an example to dumb down gaming, to basically turn it into hand holding, to come up with all these different ways and or mechanisms to push a player along, to keep them playing and keep them playing longer by giving them short-term rewards, and be damned about what the long term is. Just keep them playing and keep them playing longer. And if you can get them to buy the DLC and pay for other microtransactions, so be it. DSP was a perfect archetype for them. So from a business standpoint, he's only there to be used, right? Or even to be abused in some ways. But he'll never actually reap the rewards. No one's ever gonna probably sponsor him or endorse him anymore because he doesn't have the reach anymore. He falls into this demographic of consume. And once you're put there, you're literally at the bottom of the barrel. Senselessly consume everything because other people may get it. And especially if other people are getting it for free and they're showing it on Twitter or X, whatever. And they're showing it on Twitter or X, or they're showing it on Twitch, or they're showing it on YouTube. Hey, I'm doing this unboxing for whatever. That just drives DSP to go out there and get it some more. He'll go ahead and shit on it and shit on them. Don't get it twisted. But he will buy the game himself, just so he can justify his shitting on it. And that's the thing that I think a lot of us, not only as detractors, trolls, haters, and critics, but just as casual DSP viewers, I think, is something that has kind of slipped between the cracks. DSP doesn't buy games to play them anymore. He buys games so he can turn around and bash them later, and then use the justification that, hey, I put my money down, which is actually their money, but according to DSP, it's his money, and just so he can bash it, just so he has justifiable cause. That's really all it comes down to now. That's why he doesn't care about the rage quitting no more. He cares about wage quitting, but even then, he's starting to become more and more liberal with it. He's becoming a bit more free-flowing, I should say, doing that. He doesn't care. He'll spend $70 so he can bash something, so he can try to go viral, if that's even what he's going for, but that's another video. We'll talk about him trying to go viral and shit. But, actually, never mind. I can shoehorn this in there, to be honest. I can shoehorn that in there. But yeah, so that's the only reason why he buys games now. He doesn't buy games to play them anymore. You know what I'm saying? Or to complete them, especially not new games or new IPs. He just doesn't bash them. You know what I'm saying? And then if there's a sequel or even a pre-sequel to an existing IP, he'll just sit there and buy the game and then bash it on how it's not as good as the original. How nothing's ever as good as the original. How did they fail so badly? How did they have this apparently $1 million formula and they couldn't improve on it, but then they couldn't at least give us something that people were familiar with? He'll just do that too. He's out of touch. He's completely out of touch with gaming, with how the gaming community is. The very gaming community that he's in making money with. He doesn't have any real connections or tapped in with streamers or content creators on YouTube. Why is that? Because he's not a streamer nor he's a content creator. He's someone who produces slop. I can say that because I produce slop. But that's what he does. He produces slop content. He always has. He always will. And sadly, for him anyway, the times of being paid generously, if not even more than generously, off of slop content is done and over with. It is what it is. People who actually love gaming, who are actually passionate about gaming, or who want to improve, right? Or grow, and then grow with a community around them, actually try. They don't come up with reasons and excuses on why they can't do anything. Why these games have beginner puzzles and all this other lame ass fucking terminology that he fucking got off either Reddit or fucking Twitter and shit. They just play the game. They don't have to get mad about failures or coming up short. You're supposed to be playing to have a good time. Not to sit there and look at the screen, look down at your multiple chats and shit, ask how do you do this thing, and see if someone's giving you a donation so you can fucking have your DoorDash in 2 days. That, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where his major problem is. Gaming isn't actually about gaming. It's a business. But it's a business that he's running poorly. But he thinks if he just shows up, if he just keeps buying product and keep feeding product to idiots, he doesn't care about going any further than that. But the reality is that's a lie. He wants to be looked at as respected or be taken seriously. This is where we'll get into the situation about going viral. DSP wants to go viral so badly it hurts. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it hurts to watch it. Like, it's watching a dying man with multiple life rafts as well as a lifeboat literally around him and not wanting any of it because he believes that there's something better that will be tossed down to him. I'm not sure if you actually catch the analogy that I'm throwing at, so let's reword that. Let's remix it. DSP does not take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to him, few and far between as they are, because he's always trying to hold out for something better. He always believes there's something better. Oh, you presented me one option? Well, that means if you're willing to present this to me, you see the value in me. You see what I put out and you see the value that has. Well, then someone else has to inevitably want to do the same thing. So I'm not interested in you. I'm only interested in you when I need you to go ahead and boast myself up or promote myself to someone else that can give me something better? So then number two, or sponsor number two shows up and he's like, nah, I'm not interested in that. But see, now I have two of you in my stable. I have two people who want to do business with me. So there has to be a third who has a much better offer, a much more lucrative offer, a much more massively beneficial offer for me with minimum effort and maximum profit. And that's just all he keeps doing. And the funny thing is last time I checked, 10% of nothing is still nothing. But because DSP's fallback is, well, I've been offered different advantages and chances and opportunities in the past. So on a long enough timeline, sooner than later, it'll happen again. And then he'll just fuck himself over again as he did previously. That's why he hates gaming, because all those opportunities that he pisses away, other people pick it up. And not only do they pick it up, but they jump into the shit wholeheartedly and they actually are making some things out of it. Except for some of the guys in the FGC currently. I'm not sure if you guys are keeping up with this, but there's some guys really getting raked over the coals, if you will, getting taken advantage of when it comes to some of the sponsorships that are going on or being offered to people in the FGC. One of the reasons why that is because a lot of these guys just don't have very good business savvy. And when you're offered something for the first time, you're excited to participate in it. And you look at it as it's a learning experience. Okay, well, even if I don't get, the maximum amount out of this, I'll get some experience, I'll build some contacts, I'll make a little bit of money, it'll work out. Well, some sponsorships out there are so fucking shady that they'll just slave them out. And some of these guys are getting next to nothing or even the bare minimum, if you will, and yet they're expected to do all of the fucking real work or heavy lifting. If DSP actually was paying attention to gaming news, he would know this. He don't, because he's a fucking idiot, or he don't want to speak on it because he think it might hurt him, which it won't, because last time I checked, 10% of nothing is still nothing. With that being said, it really just comes to the fact that some of these guys just aren't business savvy. DSP isn't either, so don't get me wrong. But that's really what it comes down to. They're just not business savvy. Now, as for DSP, he's mad that other people are picking up what he would, quote unquote, consider his table scraps or a meal that wasn't satisfying to him. And some people were able to pick it up and run with it. And some were actually able to build off of it. Truth be told, early FGC is a perfect example of it. DSP had plenty of opportunities early on to try to rebuild bridges with the FGC, help use his channel to promote, and they could have all prospered. He didn't do that. He was out for self. Because he only cared about himself, the FGC fell behind, basically passed him up. And that's why he's so desperate to get in line with them, or aligned with them, I should say, with them now. Because the FGC has grown quite a bit and he didn't. He had a little bit of short-term growth, but he didn't have long-term growth. That's why he's hugging the FGC's balls right now. That's why he has been since he threw out the challenge to Kenny Omega. And that's when Kenny Omega really started to come out and support the FGC as well as some other wrestlers. And that was 2016? So, that's yet again, that's something else that falls into the business aspect of it. But let's go back to the viral, him going viral. There's nothing that he can't say. There's nothing that Darksydephil can say that hasn't been said on X or Reddit that doesn't already have a shitload of uploads or up posts or up likes or, whatever anyway. It doesn't matter. And he's not the first person on YouTube or Twitch or Kick to say it either. So how do you go viral on something that's already been floating around for like the last 12 fucking hours and shit, and a bunch of people have already talked about, spoken on? It is what it is. Secondly, DSP don't have no reach. He's an idiot. He's a perpetual idiot. Everybody knows it. He's a lolcow. Why would you take anything that he says seriously as it pertains to games that he don't even play, or doesn't play to completion, or doesn't play for the actual love of the game? He just does it for profit. If you're doing it for profit, he's already compromised, if you want to look at it from that standpoint, because he's literally only driven to do it for profit. He doesn't give a fuck about any of the games that he plays. It is what it is. On top of the fact that he's scared that the games are going to make him look stupid. So if DSP is so desperate to go viral, truth be told, he will go viral. He just won't go viral for the reasons that he wants. Just like that whole Zelda situation where he's out there wearing metal armor and shit, running around in a fucking lightning storm. That shit was hilarious. And he went viral for that. but he'll never go viral for anything rational or reasonable because he doesn't have the practice. That's not his stock and trade. It's just the reality of the situation. There's no real getting around it. It is what it is. You know what I mean? So him going viral, him being the first to say something or even the loudest is just some moot point. He should move on from that. As it pertains to the FGC, I think the FGC is another reason why DSP hates gaming, because in his eyes, the one thing that he believes that he was good at, he wasn't. I'll keep saying this until I just don't have the energy to say it anymore, but Darksydephil was never good at fighting games. And he was never good at Street Fighter. History has proven this. To be honest, just because he can beat down on scrubs and noobs, and just because he can somewhat hang with people of his particular skill level, which is average at best, and whatnot. I remember a few years ago, people said he was above average. Don't hear that no more. Oh, we don't hear that no more. You know what I'm saying? But he can hang with guys that are average at best and whatnot. But outside of that, he don't got shit. And then if you guys are watching the Marvel vs. Capcom stuff on Friday Night Beatdowns, if you watch those matches that he has with VDO, Smooth Cat, and a couple of those other guys who are coming around to use DSP as a combo dummy, on a long enough timeline, DSP will always lose. And I told you that. I told you that years ago. Get Darksydephil into longer sets. Get his ass out into the deep end and see what happens. And it's all coming true. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't wrong. I was just early. To quote fucking Fooly, if you guys follow him in the Call of Duty community. And that's all it was. And I was right. You know what I'm saying? On a long enough timeline, DSP will almost always fail. That's why he likes playing casual. Because he thinks he's out there farming wins. He thinks he's farming points. But once he started getting deep into them sets, he more than likely loses. If you remember early on in Street Fighter 6, he didn't mind getting into longer sets with people. He don't do that no more. He ain't interested in doing that anymore. Not at all. Because he knows on a long enough timeline, he gonna lose. You know what I'm saying? Put him up against a Cammy, a race to 10 and see what happens. Put him up against a Bison, race to 10, see what happens. Put him up against a Chun-Li. Put him up against a Guile. Put him up against a Q, or not Q, a JP. I mean, you could probably put him up against anybody on the cast, and eventually, in a race to 10, and he will more than likely lose. It is what it is. Unless he's playing a noob or a scrub. So the fighting game community hasn't provided him with much or given him much to really go after. The reality is, from the business standpoint, is he's been shut out. That's really what it comes down to. He's just been shut out. All the avenues, all the ways of doing co-ops or having some type of camaraderie with other communities and other content creators, those days are gone and they're shut off from him. He's not wanted, not needed. He's forgotten in a lot of ways, unless it's in a mocking sort of way. And that's something of his own, own construction. Basically, he did everything in his power to build himself up like that. He deserves what comes out of it. Let's jump to the gaming part of it now. Sorry, I'm going a little long on this one. As it pertains to gaming, I could actually sum this up pretty easily. He's bad at games. He doesn't have the mental dexterity, nor does he have the reactions or reflexes, nor does he really have the passion, the liking, the motivation to learn how to do new things. That's really the reality of it. That's why he hates all of these new iterations of old classics and shit. It's hard. It's hard for him to figure things out. It's hard for him to do puzzles. It's hard for him to do platforms. It's hard for him to identify patterns. He doesn't have a rhythm to himself, so he can't establish a rhythm, nor can he identify. He looks at gaming as child stuff, as kid stuff. What he doesn't understand or realize is that people have, to some extent, progressively gotten smarter over the years. So gaming has too. Now, at the same time, because of people like Darksydephil, some of that progress has been kneecapped for idiots like him with a loud ass mouth who can draw in a lot of other people who are mentally or physically disabled without actually identifying them as people who need accessibility features. And they cater to him, which hurts gaming overall, to be honest. But that's neither here nor there, and that's a whole different story. I'm not saying that people with disabilities shouldn't have features or options. DSP is doesn't necessarily fall into that category. He's lazy and stupid. That's what it comes down to. The reason why this particular statement, I should say, isn't cemented is because you can't really tell, is he just fucking blatantly stupid and ignorant and he just can't figure shit out, or is he just fucking lazy and he wants the game to play itself? That's really what it all comes down to. The guy hates games. All games. There's not a single game that he really likes anymore. When he sits there and tries to hype up a new release to you, especially if it's something that he is dead set on playing, does he really care about the game itself, or does he just care about the amount of money he can make off of it? And then games that had an easy cash grab, Baldur's Gate 3, for example, or Stellar Blade, he didn't play. Unless he was able to fucking con hundreds, if not thousands of dollars out of people to do so. And then even then, you know what I mean? Games are just too difficult. They're too hard. It is what it is. That's why he keeps going back to the remakes. That's why he keeps going back to the collections. It's the only thing that he can resonate with, even though he was never really good at any of them either. It is what it is. The dude hates gaming because gaming can't really provide him anything. He himself has never provided anything to gaming. On the gaming itself, let alone fucking streaming or content creation. If anything, he's been a deficit. The reality is gaming doesn't provide him with anything anymore. It doesn't offer him anything. Truth be told, streaming and content creation doesn't either. But he keeps doing it because what the fuck else is he going to do? It's all straight repetition at this point. It is what it is. And because in some way he realizes that, or he can identify that, he's disgruntled. He's pissed off that other people who he feels have less talent than him, or has as much talent as he thought he had, are still moving up and onwards in the world, and he's not. It's not his detractors, trolls, haters, and critics that are holding Darkseid back from anything. It's DSP and Phil Burnell and Dark Geppetto that are holding Darksydephil back. It is what it is. But if it's never your fault, if you did everything right and nothing wrong, then why do you need to change? The games need to change. The game publishers and developers need to change. The communities around these games need to change, not him. And if you're going to live and die by that narrative, then you just have nothing to offer. So anyway, this is just like one small part of a much larger scheme on why Darksydephil hates games. All of you will have your own opinions on it, which is a good thing. You need to. You shouldn't blindly follow other people. You know what I'm saying? If you have an opinion, you know what I'm saying, put it out there and shit and whatnot. So trust me, I'm not going to be right on everything. I'm not going to be wrong on everything either, but I'm not going to be right on everything. But truth be told, any of you could come up with a reason on why you think DSP hates gaming, and you'd be right. To be honest with you, there is no, I want to tell you realistically, there's no wrong answer. There's no such thing as a stupid answer, let alone there's no such thing as a stupid question. But there's no wrong answer in this. Gaming doesn't provide for DSP anymore. And when it did, he wasn't smart enough to invest in himself, let alone into what he was doing, because he thought it was a joke. He thought it was a con. It was easy work. It was a soft job. You know what I'm saying? It was a cushy little job that he felt that he was always deserving of. So why would you put effort into something that you felt that it was owed to you anyway? So he didn't. And then he got passed up. The story. It doesn't really get any deeper than that. It's not that serious. And unfortunately, people with more talent, more drive, and more people who cared more, built off of it and were able to cement themselves in the long term, where DSP is not even treading water. No one really looks at DSP as a gamer anymore. He's a failure. That's all he's ever been. That's all he ever will be. You know what I'm saying? DSP, as far as I'm concerned, is brain dead. Body died a long time ago. The brain still hasn't, he's brain dead. He's pretty brain dead. But the body's already dead. The brain just hasn't caught up yet. Just, it is what it is. But anyway, any reasoning on why DSP hates what he does is, it's as apparent as the sun outside, as the moon at night and shit. It's blatantly there and it's blatantly obvious. It just depends on your perspective. And that's really all it comes down to. DSP has nothing to offer. he can't benefit really from it anymore. You know, it's just, it is what it is. It's as simple as that. But anyway, tell me what you think. Tell me how you feel, you know what I'm saying, as it pertains to DSP and his hatred of gaming, his hatred of games, to be honest. Is it because games aren't as easy as they were, or as he thought they used to be? Is it because he can't get popular anymore? Because his voice doesn't mean anything? Is it because he can't insert himself into any other community because he's been already outed as being a fraud and a poser? You know, is he desperate to go viral even at his own expense as long as people can say his name? I mean, take your pick. You know what I'm saying? There's even more than that. But let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, I'll name this segment later, GTG Spits That Grease. Appreciate your time. And I'll catch you guys for the next one of these. You know what I'm saying? I kind of like throwing these little things out there and take your guys' temperature to see what you guys think. But I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care of yourselves, people. Later.